I just went in and told the guys, when we come back here next year, well, if we come back here next year, we're going to play for the big one. We're not playing for just a World Championship. I want to play for #1 rock on my finger.
The Washington Huskies are hungrier than ever, one victory away from capturing their season-long bowl. Top-ranked Washington meets third-ranked Michigan in the 1992 Rose Bowl, and a national championship is on the line.
Husky Highlights Rose Bowl Spill is brought to you by Northwest Dodge. Get the advantage at your local Northwest Dodge dealer today. By Network Health Plan, coordinating care for the way you live. By the Boeing Company. By new Clear Valley brand cooking oil. Taste the difference now in Cape Cod potato chips. By Pemco Financial Center, home of Evergreen Bank, Pemco Insurance Companies, and Washington School Employees Credit Union. By your Puget Sound Honda dealers. And by City University. We are your window.
This is where they'll do battle 18 hours from now. The 78th Rose Bowl game featuring Pac-10 champion Washington and the Big Ten champion Michigan Wolverines. Hello and welcome to our Husky Highlights Rose Bowl special. I'm Keith Shipman along with the head coach of the Huskies, Don James. Washington and Michigan renews the rivalry in the Rose Bowl game. Don, it's been a long time since you've seen this club, but you've won 2 in a row in this series.
Well, they're a good football team, and they'll present a great challenge. I think we've got the toughest opponent to play, maybe the greatest bowl game.
Now, this game has some incredible performers in it. You think of the Heisman Trophy winner, the Butkus Award winner on Michigan's side of the ball, Entman, the Outland and Lombardi Trophy winner on Washington's side of the ball. There's some concern, though. Steve has not been feeling well this week.
Well, he's missed a lot of work, and he went out and tried a little bit of practice on what was our Tuesday practice, and then our Wednesday practice he missed. We put him in the hospital and put him on IVs and got some fluids in him and some more antibiotics. Took about an 8-hour session with that, and he appears to be in a lot better shape and should be okay by game time.
Well, Steve Entman is without question the best defensive lineman in the country. Just a junior, he is the dominant defensive player in the Pac-10 Conference, perhaps the country. Most know of Steve Entman's prowess on the football field, a consensus All-American selection who's stifled opponents the past 2 years. What many of us don't know about Entman is the work ethic he possesses and where he got it. You look to the eastern Washington town of Cheney, where his parents raised cattle and weeds.
Seeing your dad go out at 6 in and come in at 9 at night, working hard, coming in all dirty, and just, you can just see he's dead tired and he's had a hard day, and it's just, seeing that, just both your parents working hard and all that, I think it really, teaches you just seeing it, and eventually it's like, I want to be like that.
I'm surprised because I always knew he'd be a good football player, but I thought if he'd make maybe the Pac-10 team when he was a senior, it'd be great, but he's went and got all the national awards. We didn't expect that.
Entman has done what many didn't expect. He's become the most decorated Husky defensive lineman ever. He picked up the Lombardi Award earlier this month, given to the nation's outstanding interior lineman. Also collected the Outland Trophy, given to college football's best lineman. And he was also a finalist in the Heisman race this year.
Those personal awards don't mean much if you don't have a national championship. So, I think that's been my goal the whole year, and it's that'd mean much more than any of these other awards. Nationally, we weren't real recognized in a lot of ways, but I think somehow I got pushed out in front and got pushed by this defense, and I was kind of the name that was thrown around, about Washington defense, and then Steve Entman. and you know, I don't feel by any means that it's my defense. And I think it's a team defense and all that. But I just, you know, I'm real happy to, you know, accept those awards basically on behalf of my defense, because without them, I obviously wouldn't have been there.
A future in the National Football League is ahead, but once Entman has left the game, he'll likely return to the farm.
It's in your blood, you know. I think, I don't know how big, or, you know, or whether it'll be a big farm or just a few horses or something, or a few head of cattle. I don't know. But I think eventually I'll end up somewhere out of the city. You know, I can't see myself living in the city all my life.
Entman's honors this year are almost endless. Here are the highlights: the Outland Trophy, the Lombardi Award, a consensus first-team All-America by the Associated Press, Football News, Kodak, the Walter Camp Foundation, and the Pro Football Writers of America. He's the Pac-10's Defensive Player of the Year, and for the second year in a row, the Morris Trophy winner as the league's best defensive lineman. Michigan all-everything athlete is Desmond Howard. The junior from Cleveland excited fans in more ways than one this year as a receiver and punt returner. Highlight of the season? This catch against Notre Dame.
And that catch had more impact than anyone can imagine, because we haven't beat Notre Dame. I've been at the school. I mean, it's like the game we wanted to win.
That game, that catch vaulted Howard to the front-runner spot for the Heisman Trophy. He was everywhere, from ESPN to the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine, and you know, I know him like no one else does, and it's just funny because the thing was, I didn't even see when he accepted the Heisman. You know, I knew he was going to win it, and you know, I went to the Nutcracker. I said, forget it. Like, you know, what's the deal of sitting there and watching it? You know, so. And it's weird, all the interviews he gets and everything, but I know Desmond Howard is the person that he is, that I met during high school and everything, and I don't think you guys, the media really doesn't know him. You know him as a football player, and maybe that's about it.
And I'd just like to take this opportunity to dedicate this trophy to the 1991 Michigan Wolverines football team, because this was done through a team effort. Hail to the victors, and go blue.
Howard calls himself a humanitarian. His most satisfying accomplishment of the year?
My ability to reach young children through my success, I think that's been the most satisfying accomplishment for Desmond Howard.
One can refer to oneself in the third person once one has the Heisman in his trophy case. One can also become a target by saying the only guy who can stop him is Florida State's Terrell Buckley.
I was a target. I was a preseason All-American, so a lot of teams came up and wanted to double-team Howard to take Howard out the game. So, I mean, it's not anything that I'm not used to. It's not like they just came and played regular defenses against Michigan all season. So, that's not anything new.
Senior corner Dana Hall will be charged with stopping Howard.
I go against Mario every day in practice, and by far, he's my Heisman Trophy winner.
Hall has a view shared by many. Both Howard and Bailey were first-team AP All-America selections. Howard caught 19 touchdown passes this year. Bailey caught 17, generally playing but quarters a game. Howard caught 61 passes, every third for a touchdown. Bailey 62 receptions, every fourth for a score. Howard had 950 receiving yards this year. Bailey had 1,037. Howard returned punts, 2 for touchdowns. Bailey was used exclusively as a receiver. Then there's the matter of the purported "Who's Mario Bailey" comment.
It kind of makes you think, you know, but I know he hasn't had a chance to see Washington play, because every morning we're watching Michigan play, so I know he doesn't get a chance to see us play, and you know, we haven't been on TV as much as him either. So I understood what he was saying, but you know, it kind of makes you feel bad because I hear about him every week.
I never said, who is Mario Bailey? What they asked me is, do you know about Mario Bailey? I said, no, not really. Because we don't get a lot of West Coast games in the Midwest. That's what happened. But, you know, they can put it on, print it like they want. But that's what I said. He's made some spectacular catches. There's no doubt in my mind that he's should be an All-American receiver. But at the time they asked me, I think it was like right after the Ohio State game. You know, I don't really concern myself with other games going around the country. I have to focus on the game I got to play that week. So I haven't really seen Mario Bailey or the Washington Huskies at that point.
You know, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try and prove to everybody that I'm just as good or better. But, you know, if you go in there trying to do too much, then that takes you out of your game. I'd end up, if he scored and if I felt like, boy, he scored, you have to score, then I'd probably mess up and wouldn't be concentrating on winning the game. I don't want it to be a Mario Bailey, Desmond Howard game. I want it to be Washington versus Michigan.
Both All-America wide receivers, and both of them do so much after they get their hands on the ball.
Well, they're very difficult to tackle on the open field, and the danger is, first of all, you have to give them a little cushion or they'll run by and catch, the deep route, the go route. And the other problem is if you stay off too far and they catch it underneath you, then they've got so much room to run on you, and you can't, you're going to break down, but they can still come out with a big play. So they're both very dangerous receivers, catching the ball and running.
A great challenge for the secondaries on both sides.
Without a doubt.
Washington and Michigan square off in the Rose Bowl. A complete preview of tomorrow's game is just ahead on our Husky Highlights Rose Bowl special.
Travel arranged through Northwest Airlines, committed to providing Seattle business travelers with the best on-time performance. Northwest, the #1 on-time airline.
Keith Shipman along with Husky coach Don James. Pleased you've joined us for our Husky Highlights Rose Bowl special. Don James talked all summer about the importance of the season opener against Stanford, a conference game on the road, a new starting quarterback. His name was Billy Joe Hobart. And Billy Joe Hobart responded with a couple of touchdown passes, one to Mario Bailey, another to Joe Kralik. Washington dealt Aloha Bowl-bound Stanford its worst loss of the season, 42-7. Washington began getting national attention after their victory over 9th-ranked Nebraska in Lincoln. The Huskies erased a 21-9 Cornhusker lead in the second half when Hobart rallied the offense. A strike to Orlando McKay gave the Purple and Gold a 22-21 lead. The Huskies rolled up 618 yards of total offense, the most against a Nebraska team in 35 years. Jay Barry's 81-yard dash concluded a 36-21 victory. The Huskies were 2-0 and then rolled off wins against Kansas State, Arizona, and Toledo. The Pac-10 showdown for the Rose Bowl berth came in mid-October when Washington visited California. The Golden Bears were ranked 7th in the country. The Huskies were ranked 3rd. Bino Bryant's 65-yard touchdown run on the first play of the fourth quarter ended up being the game-winning points for Washington. This game went down to the final play. Walter Bailey broke up a Mike Polsky pass attempt at the goal line. The Huskies win it 24-17. They were in the driver's seat to Pasadena. Washington beat Oregon and Arizona State to improve to 8-0, jumped to 2nd in the polls, and visited Southern Cal. Tailback Bino Bryant stole the show. A career-high 158 yards on 26 carries. He scored both Husky touchdowns in his hometown and was named the Pac-10's Player of the Week for his efforts. Bryant's 7-yard carry in the second quarter made it 14-0 Washington. The Huskies had their first victory against USC in Los Angeles since 1980 and improved to 9-0. Much praise for the defense in this victory. They held SC to 78 yards rushing. David Hoffman had 10 tackles, 5 for loss, and a pair of sacks for Defensive Player of the Week honors. Washington locked up the Pac-10 championship the following week in Corvallis against Oregon State. Hobart threw 4 touchdown passes, 3 to Mario Bailey. The Huskies clinched a second straight Rose Bowl berth with a 58-6 victory. The Huskies completed the perfect regular season in convincing fashion, a 35-point win in the Apple Cup. Washington set the tone on its first drive when Hobart went to McKay for 69 yards and a touchdown. The Huskies forced 6 Cougar turnovers and 8 points on the board. Walter Bailey picked off this pass and returned it for a touchdown, his second of the season, and the Huskies had a commanding 20-0 lead. Jaime Fields had 1 of 7 Husky sacks, this one a safety. 56-21 the final, the Huskies' first unbeaten, untied season since 1915. Don, an enormous amount of pressure that you place on yourself from within, the staff, the players, the ultimate goal of trying to win that national championship.
Well, first of all, we set the goal. We had high expectations. Pressure is kind of like a self-inflicted wound. You put it on yourself. I don't think outside pressure is nearly as great as what an individual puts on himself. The pressure to stay in the conference race, of course, was to win the Stanford game. A tough game on the road with a new quarterback. Then to stay in the national picture, we knew we had to go to Nebraska, in Lincoln, tough place to play, and beat a great football team.
And you kept the momentum throughout the season, and focus was a big part of that, too. You always were ready for the task at hand. Well,
I think that's a real credit to this team. Coaches have always tried to do the same thing, every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday throughout the season. And a lot of times coaches don't, they don't take time off during the season because of it. Sometimes you're playing a team when you're heavily favored. So the players attempted to do the same thing, work hard, play every game, get better every week, and I think they did that.
For the third time in the past 4 years, Michigan will represent the Big Ten Conference in the Rose Bowl game, and save for a loss to Florida State, the Wolverines would be entering this game unbeaten. Michigan began the season in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts against Boston College, and Desmond Howard stepped forward in the Heisman race with 4 touchdowns, one of them a 93-yard kickoff return for a score, as the Wolverines clobbered the Golden Eagles 35-13. Howard moved to the front in the Heisman voters' eyes against Notre Dame. The Wolverines didn't play too badly either, snapping a 4-game losing streak to the Irish. Howard's 35-yard touchdown reception in the fourth quarter lifted Michigan to a 24-14 victory. Ricky Powers, the sophomore running back, a season-high 38 carries for 164 yards and a touchdown. Michigan was 2-0 heading into Florida State. The Seminoles handed Michigan its only loss of the season on September 28th in Ann Arbor. Florida State outquicked the Wolverines. Terrell Buckley's 40-yard interception return of this Elvis Gerback pass was one of 4 Michigan turnovers. Gerback threw 4 touchdown passes. He also had 3 picked off. 51-31 the final. The Wolverines took the driver's seat in the Big Ten Rose Bowl race with a come-from-behind victory over Iowa. The Hawkeyes led 18-7 midway through the second. Then Michigan scored 29 unanswered points. Jesse Johnson caught the go-ahead touchdown pass. Michigan over the defending conference champion 43-24. Victories over Michigan State, Indiana, Minnesota, Purdue, and Northwest put Michigan at 8-1. Illinois was next in Champaign, and the defense came to play. They recorded a shutout. The Wolverines held the Illini to 73 yards rushing. Howard scored a couple more times, a 15-yard reverse in the arsenal as well. 20-0 the final. The Wolverines earned a share of the Big Ten title with a victory over Illinois, and they wrapped up the title outright the following week by defeating Ohio State. The finale was in Ann Arbor. The most memorable players? Eric Anderson, the Big Ten's Defensive Player of the Week, with 17 tackles against the Buckeyes. Howard was the Big Ten's Offensive Player of the Week. One play will do it for you. He caught 1 pass and returned this punt, a school record 93 yards for a touchdown. Caps it off with a very familiar pose. Michigan upends Ohio State 31-3. They finished 10-1, 8-0 in the Big Ten. Don, how much different is Gary Moeller from Bo Schembechler? You spent some time at Michigan. You know what it's all about back in Ann Arbor?
Well, I think the one difference that is really evident from a fan is that they're not always in a 2-back. They're playing a lot of 1-back. They'll give a lot of formations. They played most of the season with no huddle, so they'll present a lot of challenges. 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, 1-back, 2 tight ends, 2-back. All the combinations that really make it difficult on a defense.
Does he like to take risks?
4th and 1, Bo might try to run it once in a while, but Gary will run it or throw it.
Next, a look at the Husky quarterbacks. One an MVP, the other a starter. January 1st, 1991, Pac-10 champion Washington dismantled Big Ten Iowa. The Huskies built a 33-7 first-half lead. Dana Hall returned to punt 27 yards for a touchdown. 15 minutes later, Charles Mincy picked off a Matt Rogers pass and went 37 yards to the end zone. The Husky defense forced 5 turnovers in all, 4 of them interceptions, and had 5 sacks. Washington finished the season 10-2, ranked 5th in the country, following a 46-34 victory over Iowa in the 77th Rose Bowl game. Mark Brunell was on top of the world last January, helping Washington to a 46-34 triumph over Iowa in the 1991 Rose Bowl. He ran for a pair of touchdowns and passed for 2 more, both to Mario Baker. And when it was over, the young man who grew up just a few hours north of Pasadena was named the game's most valuable player, and the future looked bright.
It was really special. It was good to get out there and play against Iowa in a Rose Bowl, and I remember before the game, I kind of was talking to Coach Pinkel, our old offensive coordinator. I said, you know what, I just realized this is the Rose Bowl, and he kind of laughed at me.
Things changed during the spring. A severe knee injury during spring practice required surgery, and suddenly the future was on hold.
I'm not going to be one to just sit here and say, oh yeah, sure, I knew he would do well, because I don't think that's the truth. The truth is that, yeah, when you lose your Rose Bowl MVP in spring practice, I was really concerned. And that's not to say I didn't have a lot of confidence in Billy, but I was concerned, and yet I probably felt so bad for Mark Mark had worked so hard in the offseason. He had been such a leader. He had come off that Rose Bowl MVP and was a better, complete player.
But Brunell made a remarkable comeback, rehabilitating months ahead of schedule. He returned to action in September against Kansas State. Though he saw a fair amount of playing time, it wasn't easy being number 2.
It was difficult at times, and when you're there and you're playing and you're having some success and it's kind of your team, so to speak, and then to not have that, get injured, it is a difficult situation. You always hear of people getting hurt and not being able to play the next year, and it always happened to the other person. But now that it was happening to me, it was a tough experience. But I came to grips with it, and I just kind of tried to work real hard to get a chance to contribute this year.
Brunell took his leadership to a new level with unending support of the new quarterback.
He was always there to encourage me. He was always there to support me, and I guess this year was my turn. And last year we got along really well, and I think this year we're even closer now. We work together more, and we create a friendship, and it's helped to make a competitive environment and also an easy environment to play in.
Very few people could do that. All of us, if we lost our jobs under those circumstances, would work and compete to get the job back. I don't know that all of us would be as quality a person as that guy was through all that. I think his teammates obviously recognized that, and that's why he was voted most inspirational player.
How then will last year's Rose Bowl MVP approach this year's game?
I take it just like any other game. I have to be prepared if Billy should go down. Hopefully he doesn't, and I think maybe I might get a series or so possibly in the first half, which I got to be ready for. And I'm gonna do like any other game. It is a Rose Bowl game. It's big, and whether you're playing one play or you're playing 30 plays, you got to go in there with the same attitude and same frame of mind.
Billy Joe Hobart knows how Mark Brunell feels. Lived it his redshirt freshman season.
I can relate to the feelings that he has, although he's being very supportive. You know, I know he's upset, and I can't blame him, because when I was backing him up, you know, I was trying to be as supportive as possible and try to help him out whenever I could. But inside, I was just, you know, blowing up. I felt like a time bomb because I wanted to get out there and play and compete. And, you know, it was a good learning experience for me. I was really this close from quitting, actually. And, you know, I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I talked to the right people.
Ironically, it was Dennis Erickson who talked Hobart into remaining at Washington.
I kind of owed this year to Dennis Erickson because he's the one that told me to stick it out and play hard. It's kind of funny because he's the coach of Miami now, and we're battling for the #1 spot.
Hobart has been under the microscope in the Northwest since the late 1980s when he quarterbacked Puyallup High to a state championship. He's used to the pressure, a gamer, and it showed when he assumed command of the offense.
I've had a lot of confidence in Billy. Billy is an outstanding athlete and can do a lot of things. Is a great pitcher. So I knew we were in good shape with Billy, but we had lost some depth. We went from having maybe as good a depth as anybody in the country to now we're in a position where our #1 guy is one play away from being out.
Hobart led Washington to its first unbeaten season in the modern era. It brought them back from a 21-9 second-half deficit to defeat Nebraska on the road, which vaulted the Huskies into the national spotlight. Hobart is the polar opposite of Brunell. Prior to the season, he issued a blanket apology for things he might say during the season, and he found himself in hot water with the coaching staff at times. He's a colorful interview, makes weekly radio appearances with Robin and Maynard on KXRX.
We've read that you're a smart ass and that you shoot your mouth off a little bit, and I have to agree with that.
Okay.
Well, we went golfing, and I had very...
How'd you do, Bill?
I did fine. I couldn't keep up with Maynard, though.
Really?
He was all over the course. It was hard to chase him around.
Don't you love his stance and his swing? Isn't he great?
Thank you for that spasm.
He looks like a 90-year-old lady with no calcium in her skin.
Oh, Bill, here, John, let me look this way. Look this way, Billy. There you go, Maynard. I'll take care of him.
The presence that people think I have is a little bit, you know, brash and arrogant. You know, that's fine, but that's not really the way I am. I like jokes. I'm a kind of a smart ass, I guess, so to speak, and I like fun and games. But you know, I just like talking to the media to the point to where people get a different view of Billy Joe Hobart. And I guess when I talk to the press, it's my way of being a smart ass to people that I'm not supposed to be.
Watch your head. This might bounce back.
Another of his passions is golf.
Competing in golf, I mean, for me, it's just you're competing against yourself, and that's what I'm about. A lot of times when I'm playing games, I'm playing against myself, and you shouldn't do that. You should just go out and game and be instinctive and just let it flow. A lot of times I get down on myself too much, and making it a game where I'm playing against myself, and golf is just like that. You just got to keep your head focused and stay down on the ball, be relaxed, and not cuss between everything like I so often do.
Hobert's been able to translate his competitiveness into leadership and victories. 20-3 as a high school starter, 11-0 as a college starter.
People think that I'm too cocky to play the game, and I don't ever say that we're going to go out and win or lose. And I don't make predictions on the outcome of the game as far as scores. I'm not going to make a prediction for the Michigan game. I just go out and play. I have a lot of confidence in what I can do, and I compete. And that's really the key to football. You got to have confidence, you got to compete, you got to hustle, you got to know your game plan. Just work hard. I don't, as far as backing up what I say, I don't think I say enough to back myself up. People might think so, but oh well.
Well, both Hobert and Brunel have been most supportive of one another the past couple of seasons.
Well, there's no question about it. Mark won the job. Billy supported him. Billy learned. Mark got injured. He supported Billy, and now we're just so delighted that Mark is back. We've got good depth at the position, and this game, Billy Joe's the starter, and Mark, we're going to try to get him in the second quarter and maybe the fourth quarter at least. Billy and Mark will go into competition then in the spring like all other players do.
When Mark Brunel picked up a valuable player trophy at last year's Rose Bowl game, it was presented by a past MVP. Bob Schlarette was the first player in Rose Bowl history to earn back-to-back Player of the Game honors. He helped usher in a Pac-10 dominance in the game when the Huskies beat Wisconsin in the 1960 Classic and came back from a broken collarbone midway through the following season to lead the Huskies past Minnesota in 1961.
It was great satisfaction. One was Disneyland and stars. The next one was just great satisfaction from knowing what you had accomplished, because the first year you didn't really understand what you accomplished.
Their victory over top-ranked Minnesota in the 61 Rose Bowl game may well have given the Huskies claim to a national championship.
I've been told by plenty of people in the sporting and the TV business and newspaper type of people that, the ranking should have been at that time, Washington would have been ranked #1. And we've always felt that we were #1 team in the nation. Unfortunately, we were never officially had that honor. And for all intents and purposes, if we would have had a poll after the ball game, I'm sure that we would have been #1.
Schlarette was inducted into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame this past summer.
Accept this award for my teammates and Jim Owens' coaching staff, because deep down I know that any one of the guys could have been up here and be accepting this fine award. Thank you very much.
It was very nostalgic getting back and seeing some of the people that were on the Rose Bowl committee when I was playing, and getting a chance to walk around in a lot calmer situation than was available when I had been around the Rose Bowl either the game before or the year before, and it was just less hectic and just a chance to really savor the memories.
Well, Schlarette, of course, was an assistant under Jim Owens for 11 seasons in Washington. He's now a sales representative based in Seattle. He's made a lot of contributions to the Husky football program, not the least of which was that Rose Bowl MVP.
Well, he is a Hall of Famer. He's in our Hall of Fame. He's in the National College Football Hall of Fame. But the thing that impresses me about Bob is that he's still helping the university. He brings youth groups out to practice. He was involved with getting youth groups, youth teams to play prior to kickoff each Saturday. And so he helps us out. He's willing to do whatever we ask him to do.
One of our more enjoyable features on Husky Highlights are the fan calls, and we're doing the same here at the Rose Bowl.
Jim from Laurelhurst. Don, you have a reputation over the years of doing particularly well when you have extra time to prepare to a game. What do you do when you're given that extra time that you don't normally do during the course season?
Well, the first few days we practice in Seattle, we want to get the players back, introduced to football, get them started on a game schedule that's just like in season. In other words, we take the game day and say this year it's a Wednesday. Well, that becomes Saturday. Then we just back up every day from there on and try to get a couple of Monday practices just like we would in season, then Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. And I think the key thing is get them back into the same routine that they have been in.
You got to mix that in all with finals and everything else, don't you?
Yeah, we work around it a little bit, and they'll look at the clock, and maybe they should have been in Sunday school, but it's a Wednesday practice. But I think they understand. They know what to do when they get to practice. They know what day it is.
We're going to be back to meet the Huskies' electrifying punt returner. Bino Bryant takes us to the neighborhood he grew up in and introduces us to the person who kept him off the streets. It's a long way to the Rose Bowl game from anywhere. Football players all over Pac-10 and Big Ten country dream of playing in this game. Washington tailback Bino Bryant dreamed too. We feature Bryant under the banner of KCBQ's You Make the Choice campaign, our ongoing effort to reduce the demand for drug and alcohol abuse. Bino grew up in South Central Los Angeles, where the lure of gangs and drugs are ever present. He stayed away because of his strong relationship with his family. Football has been the path to a better life for Bino Bryant and his family. The schools in his own backyard didn't recruit him, so he went north to Washington.
The run against USC, the 55-yarder, SC really didn't recruit me. I mean, they did, then again they didn't. I never heard from them again. And they said I was small and other things.
The victory and his performance against Southern Cal were extremely gratifying. The most important accomplishment is that he's back home for the Rose Bowl.
To be home with my mom, to let my friends see that, you know, there is a different side of me than just, you know, a sports person. I can also be a good guy, you know, and be the same, and just to have all right time down there. I mean, it's real important, and it's going to be real satisfying.
Mom.
Hi.
Hey.
I knew that I had to keep a job, and I knew that I had to keep my kids off the street. And you have to sacrifice, you know, in order, and it's a lot of work, to keep your kids away from drugs and gangs, because once they leave out the door, I would be terrified. You know, they're going to make my child join their gang, or they're going to introduce them to drugs. So that's the parents' responsibility, is to tune in with their kids.
Evelyn raised 3 boys as a single parent.
To know that you have raised a child and the things that you have taught them, and they're using that, you know, in their daily life. It's a good feeling.
I wouldn't say that I'm a role model, because I feel that your parents or your big brothers or your guardians should be role models, but I hope that they just look at me and say, well, you know, he grew up in right middle of this stuff, and he never got discouraged. You know, he just kept going no matter what people said about him, because there was people saying that I was never going to amount to anything, or I was a nobody, I was a troublemaker. But now, you know, majority of those people that were saying that kind of stuff about me, their sons and daughters, you know, aren't doing too much of anything. And right now, I'm trying to get a degree here and trying to strive for higher heights and take care of my mom.
If you've seen the film Boys in the Hood, you've seen where Bino lived as a child, where the rolling 60th Street Crips count.
Most of the people that see the film, they usually say that, wow, that reminds me of you. And I just laugh, you know, because in a way it was something like that, but only thing I was lucky I didn't, you know, catch the bullet.
Bino spent his high school years in the jungle, one of the roughest neighborhoods in South Central Los Angeles.
You resisted the urge to get involved in the gangs and everything, too. What is it about gangs that make people join them?
They just, I mean, in gangs, you want it. You have a lot of friends, and when something happened to you, people, they care about you. If you're not being cared for at home, then you're going to search for love and friendship somewhere else. So I think that's one of the reasons why I stayed away, because I had love in my house, my mom and my brothers. So I had to shy away from that.
Got a lot of friends still here in the neighborhood?
Well, I got a few. Live in that apartment, this one, around the corner. Got a few of them. I came through here the other day, and a lot of guys stopped me. What's up, Bean? Something. It's like, what's up? How y'all doing? So still cool with me. They know I'm still the same. It's going to be people that tell you you're never going to amount to anything, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. If you set your mind to it, then the sky's the limit. You can do anything you want to do.
Well, a positive story, a real positive guy, and a pretty good athlete to boot.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to be around. He's great to be on the team. He's a team player, and he's a pretty good entertainer also.
There's plenty to do at the Rose Bowl. Coming back with a glimpse of the non-football related activities in just a moment.
Travel arranged through Northwest, the #1 on-time airline, with 21 convenient non-stops a week to LAX and John Wayne airports. Northwest Airlines.
One of the traditional functions at the Rose Bowl is a visit to Lowry's Prime Rib in Beverly Hills, the Beef Bowl.
You know, I grew up on a ranch and have ate a lot of steak in my time, but this is some of the best prime rib I've ever ate.
Well, I don't know how much they're going to eat, but I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat until I'm full, so I don't know how much they're going to eat.
Everyone enjoyed, no one went home hungry. Universal Studios is a regular stop on the Rose Bowl extracurricular circuit as well. And this year, Washington found a pretty good-sized lineman in King Kong. Lincoln Kennedy monkeyed around for a few moments. All in all, a pleasant afternoon for players and the official party visiting Universal.
20, blue. I mean blue, 20. 80. 200.
The Huskies and the Wolverines got a look at each other for the first time in Southern California when they visited Disneyland. Mickey and his friends tried a few moves, but the Huskies showed their quickness on defense and dropped, or should we say, picked him up. Mickey even struck a familiar pose with Heisman winner Desmond Howard. After the formalities, off to have fun.
Here's the big one. Hang on. Whoa, Nelly. Come on, huh? They want to spin it. I want to spin it. Hey, no spin it. He's torturing me. He's trying to torture me. No spin it around here. Let's have 2 cheeseburgers.
It's been 7 years since the Huskies and Wolverines met on the field. Back to recap the series after this. Well, the Painters are putting finishing touches on the surface for the 1992 Rose Bowl game. Washington, the visiting team, they'll wear their white jerseys and purple pants, and while it may be a stretch, you'll go after your 4th road victory against a ranked team.
Well, we've been here last year. We have players that played here last year. We have a lot of California players. Michigan has been here 3 of the last 4 years. So even though we are in white, I think we're going to look at it as maybe a home field advantage.
Washington and Michigan have met on 8 prior occasions. Michigan's won 5 of those, the Huskies 3. 2 times they've met in the Rose Bowl game. Here's a look back at the series. The 1978 Rose Bowl put Washington football back on the map. After a 1-3 start, the Huskies won 7 of their last 8 games, including a 27-20 victory over Michigan. Warren Moon ran for a pair of touchdowns and passed for another as Washington built a 24-0 lead midway through the 3rd quarter. This was Bo Schembechler's first encounter with Don James and the Husky defense, which stifled 2 late drives. Michael Jackson and Nesby Glasgow intercepted passes to preserve the victory. The Huskies and Wolverines hooked up in the 1981 Rose Bowl as well. Michigan entered ranked 5th in the country. A pair of field goals by Chuck Nelson were all Washington could muster in a 23-6 setback.
As the game wore on, they established their typical Big Ten power football strength game. Butch Wolfolk went nuts, and we couldn't stop him. So it was a very good game.
Well, the Huskies and Wolverines haven't met in the Rose Bowl since, but they have squared off in a home-and-home series back in the early 80s. The 1983 game was one of the all-time great comebacks in Husky history. Washington erased a 24-10 fourth-quarter deficit to defeat the Wolverines in Husky Stadium.
It's great. There's 32 seconds on the clock, and kind of as Sports Illustrated put it, it was a story with a perfect ending. And Larry Michaels came up with the big 2-point conversion, and we won the game.
The largest non-bowl game crowd assembled in Ann Arbor the following September to watch the Huskies and Wolverines square off. Washington stunned Michigan with a 20-11 upset. The stunning play, a 73-yard touchdown strike from Hugh Millen to Pattison early in the second half.
Nothing better than shutting up 105,000 people when you throw a bomb like that. So, it was just a great play and a great day and a great win for the University of Washington.
Strong safety Jimmy Rogers had the game of his career, recovered a fumble, intercepted a pass. This sack of Michigan's Jim Harbaugh came when the Huskies needed it most.
It was the game that actually, when the Purple Rain came into play. And it's comparable to maybe the Washington-Nebraska game this year. Whereas you have the whole summer to think about it. Boy, if we can get by Stanford and Nebraska, we can do it. We can go all the way undefeated, and that's what these guys have done. And we had the entire summer knowing that the biggest game was at Michigan, and they had just beaten, I believe it was Miami the week before, who was number 1. So Michigan was vaulted to number 1. And what a great place to play.
We've not coached against him as a head coach, but you're certainly familiar with Gary Moeller.
Yes, Gary has been there 20 years. This is his second year as a head coach. He's been in Rose Bowl games. And I think the key thing at looking at their team, they remind you a little bit of the Bo Schembechler years in that they are so well coached. They don't beat themselves. They've only thrown 5 interceptions all year. They don't give up many big plays. After the Florida State game, just no one has gotten a long run or a long pass against them. So they're a very sound fundamental football team.
Well, let's find out what the Husky players are thinking as they get ready for the 1992 Rose Bowl game.
You know, we got a lot of chips on the table this game, and we're not going to risk it. You know, everybody's working hard. Everybody's staying focused. We've been focused for so long, and we all realize how, you know, what it took to get us here. So now we're you know, as every day comes along, we're getting more and more focused as it gets closer to January 1st.
There's been plenty of talk about a national championship. Every newspaper you pick up, newscast you watch, talks of the implications of the Rose Bowl. But the Huskies have remained, not surprisingly, well-focused.
We are number 1 in the nation, or number 2, whichever way you want to look at it. And, you know, everyone wants a piece of us. You know, they want to see us, want to talk to us. But I think the thing about this team is we're all mature enough to know that, you know, that's all on the side. We need to really focus on what January 1st is all about, and I think this team's mature enough to do that.
Well, I don't think it's hard to stay focused because we all know what is at hand. Michigan, for some reason, thinks we have no respect for them, and that's entirely untrue. We have a lot of respect for them. We think they're one of the best teams in the country, and we're not going to look past them. You know, as far as the trips and stuff like that, you know, it's a good mind breaker, I guess. You're concentrating on football so much all day long that, you know, when you go to Disneyland and Osprey Farm, Universal Studios, it kind of gives you a little bit of a break that you need.
Holbert and his offensive mates will try to do what many have had trouble doing this year against Michigan. The Wolverines' defense is surrendering but 322 yards per game.
We've got what we call a big plays allowed tape, and it's pretty short tape. I mean, there's only like 3 or 4 big plays they gave up all season. They're very solid against the run, and just don't give up big plays. They're just so sound and got good athletes enough to where they won't let you have the big play. So it's going to be a grind-em-out game.
The Husky defense hasn't given up many big plays either. Doesn't intend to start against Michigan. The key, keeping an eye on Desmond Howard.
You got to know he's on the field at all times. And for the most part, we're going to have 2 guys on him at least, you know, because if not, he's going to hurt us, and we don't want to be hurt. So as often as we can, we're going to put 2 guys on him.
Washington will also have a great challenge up front. Michigan's offensive line is by far the best they've seen this year.
They naturally going to think they can stop our rush, and we naturally going to think we can't. We're going to get to the quarterback. So we're just going to see what happens come January 1st.
The Wolverines have been practicing at Citrus Community College in Glendora, just outside of Pasadena. One thing Moeller has in common with Schembechler, not a soul from the media has been able to see their practices this week. Mo differs from Bo in many ways. Moeller was by Bo's side as an assistant for 18 seasons, was groomed for the head coaching spot by Schembechler.
Bo will always be a part of that program. It's something you're always going to have to work around, and yet I don't mind that because Bo's a good friend of mine. I replaced a guy who also continued to be a great fan of Michigan, which some people have a hard time doing. But he's been very interested in the team. He's watched the team. He follows them, and more importantly, he roots hard for them. And those things have all helped. And my players are excellent.
Coach Schembechler, he loved those low-scoring defensive battles that, you know, the defenses would really rule the games. And we tried to run the ball a lot more with Bo. I mean, he stressed the run. And the difference between Coach Moore with the run in terms of Coach Schembechler, you knew Coach Schembechler wanted to come in and run. Now with Coach Moore, he's opened up to a point where he still wants to run the ball because he knows to run, in order to be successful, you have to, you know, keep the ball and run it. And so time of possession, and you know, you have the ball, but he knows that you also have to pass the ball to open it up, and no one knows what Moeller's going to do. Only Coach Moeller does.
One thing Moeller is willing to share is his respect for Washington.
Speed-wise, they compare to Florida State, but I think they're probably a little faster than Florida State. I know they are on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they are offensively as well. And I would say this is probably the best football team we've played to date. and maybe one of the better ones we've seen since I've been at Michigan over the past 20 years.
The Huskies are still challenged with shutting down Desmond Howard.
Once you put man-to-man coverage, on Desmond, something's going to happen. So, I mean, with our offensive line, we'll get some protection, but I think there's going to be some big plays in this game.
I'm not going to predict that we're going to move, but I expect to move the ball. Because we have the talent to do it. We have the horses up front, have the thoroughbreds in the backfield, and we have the ultimate weapon in Desmond Howard. So I really expect to move the ball.
Both defenses have thrived on the turnover this year. Washington turned 39 opponent turnovers into 131 points.
That's the key to the game. Whoever turns the ball over more than, the other team is going to lose. Like Florida State, I had 4 interceptions, and that caused us to lose. And I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game.
I think this is probably the most evenly matched games in a long time. We have Desmond Howard, they have Mario Bailey. Our defense is strong and fast, and their defense is strong and fast. I think there are two teams that are very, very similar.
I think you're going to see fast scoring at times and some times where people just get shut down. I don't think any defense is just going to allow you to control the ball, particularly theirs. They aren't going to let you just move the ball down the field slowly. So I see it to be more of a back and forth, not a wide open battle, but that ball is going to change hands a lot of times very quickly.
Well, Michigan arrived on Christmas Day. They'd hoped to work in some warm weather, but it's been raining quite a bit here in Southern California. How's your team reacted to the rain?
Well, we've had actually one wet practice. That was the 29th. It was our Wednesday practice. We had scheduled in the afternoon to get some heat. We saw the weather change, so fortunately we moved it to the morning because there was no way we could have gotten on our field at 2 p.m. that afternoon. So we've been able to get pretty much done. Really think that the weather, first of all, they say receivers know where they're going to go on the route, so they have an advantage. But I sort of think that the team that can run the ball the best will have an advantage.
Husky Highlights Rose Bowl Special is brought to you by Northwest Dodge. Get the advantage at your local Northwest Dodge dealer today. By Network Health Plan, coordinating care for the way you live. By the Boeing Company. By new Clear Valley brand cooking oil. Taste the difference now in Cape Cod potato chips. By Pemco Financial Center, home of Evergreen Bank, Pemco Insurance Companies, and Washington School Employees Credit Union. By your Puget Sound Honda dealers. And by City University. We are your window.
59 years young today. Happy birthday.
Thanks. Appreciate that. I feel like about 39.
I have a feeling I know what you're going to wish for when you blow out those candles.
There's probably only one wish right now.
This is what you get into this profession for, isn't it?
Yeah, to be in a position to play your last game and still play for an undefeated season, play for a national championship, a Rose Bowl championship. As a competitive athlete or a coach, how much better could it get?
Don, congratulations on all of your accomplishments thus far, and good luck tomorrow against Michigan in the Rose Bowl.
Thanks. It's been great working with you, great working with KCPQ, and we appreciate all that you do for us.
Thanks, Don, and we'll look forward to working with you again next year here on Husky Highlights. Top-ranked Washington meets third-ranked Michigan in the 1992 Rose Bowl game. We thank you for watching this year for the entire crew. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next fall on Husky Highlights with Don James.